Welcome to the first episode of the Dice or Death podcast, a show about cyberpunk stuff. I am your host, Ray Orkizan, joined today by Marc Desmarais, and we are going to be talking about the first two episodes of Amazon's Ghost in the Shell reboot, simply titled The Ghost in the Shell. I think a first in the series having the prepositional "the" at the front.
Yeah,
Is that a
I don't think.
preposition?
Yeah, but I don't think the manga is called that either. So this is just the first one with the Ghost in the Shell. But this obviously draws the distinction between the previous versions, Ghost in the Shell, the movie that came out in the '90s, and then you get a standalone complex, Arise, and the other stuff that's come out since then. But this one, it's a really interesting show, and I'm happy to be talking about it.
I just finished the second episode last night and was kind of surprised to see like not all the movie stuff, but seeing a lot of movie stuff in the second half of that episode. I'm getting ahead of ourselves, but I think like it's interesting where like I guess to start from the beginning, this show is a reboot. You can jump in from the beginning of this show, like not knowing anything about Ghost in the Shell, right?
Yeah, and it's hard to imagine, right? Because from our perspective, Ghost in the Shell is such a foundational text, right? The movie particularly is
Yeah,
iconic. I mean, beyond iconic. It is the anime. Like famously, right? Like it was a huge inspiration for The Matrix, right?
yeah,
Like what what of the American like classic foundational iconic nerd texts and Ghost in the Shell to anime is it's on that tier. It's really important. Really important to me particularly. Like I've been a huge Ghost in the Shell fan in every version that I've seen it. Um and so this is a reboot at that is trying to adapt much more close to the manga, right? The original work was a manga that came out in the '90s, and this hews very closely to it. Which I actually went back and reread a bunch of the manga before this. I was planning to talk about differences and things like that. Shockingly few. So it's a really interesting show because it's trying to hew so closely to that. Where the movie that you and I sort of both started from took a lot of liberties. And again, we'll get back into that when we
sure.
talk to the second episode, which has a lot of stuff from the movie.
Yeah. So, okay, so everything here though is from the manga, like including the first story that's like the bulk of the first episode.
Yeah, even like the prologue section. So the first episode consists of two parts, right? There's the prologue and then the sort of main first episode story, and it's presented like that in the manga as well, where you get the intro bit that introduces Kusanagi and Aramaki, and then you get the full like first story, and it is the story as told. There are some small scenes that are added in the TV show for clarity or for pacing. There are some minor things that are in the manga that aren't in the show, but it's straight up the same story.
Nice. Yeah, and the first story, which is split between the first and second episode, is called Super Spartan, which I thought was interesting. It doesn't immediately I'm not sure immediately what that name ties into the actual plot of the episode. It wasn't like a code name or something, as I recall.
No, I think one thing we've talked a lot about is that Ghost in the Shell is a very interesting show and work. It's thoughtful, it's well drawn, but it also is kind of guided by rule of cool. And I
Yeah.
think Super Spartan might be one of those things where, damn, that's cool. That's a cool title.
I wasn't sure if that was maybe like the first chapter of the manga too, like if it was, as those issues were coming out, if they had titles like that.
No, I mean most manga doesn't really work like that, and I think Ghost in the Shell is a little different from other manga. It's visually very different, and it's
Mm.
relatively short, but it does have a title like oh. I'm looking at it right now. They call it O2 Super Spartan, and there's a cool picture of Motoko in a tachikoma.
Nice.
But that's it's just referring to this story that we saw on the TV show.
Okay. Cool. Let's get into talking about the first episode. I jotted down it goes by pretty quickly. There's like a text kind of crawl, not a crawl, but like a quick text dump at the beginning. That moves by pretty quickly. So I wrote it down and I thought that would just be interesting to talk about on its own. So this is it. It's pretty short. In 1998, a growable neurochip was made at Harima Science City. Its cells are dying due to excessive growth. The fibers have grown to terminals composed of galactose-infused polystyrene derivatives, distorting the thin membrane the terminals are printed on. That same month, cyberbrain technology began shifting to a micro machine base. In 2028, neurochips are widely used in robots and AIs. In the near future, electrons and light race back and forth through corporate nets that blanket the globe, but the notions of nationality and ethnicity still cling to life despite the spread of technology. Damn. What
Wow.
what an interesting opening. So,
Guys, let's say, look, the first thing Ghost in the Shell does is like this incredible both lore dump and technology thing. We're going to talk about it. But this is why I love
yeah,
this
it
property.
just
Oh my god.
immediately slaps you in the face with sort of an alternate kind of history. I mean, obviously, it was originally written, in the early '90s, right, or '80s, late '80s. When did the original manga come out?
That's a great question. I know what I'm looking at right now is the Dark Horse printing that was done in the 2000s, but that was obviously like an Americanization. It makes, it's translated, does some stuff. So let's just check real quick the manga. I always assumed it was like very early 90s. Let's see
That
exactly
sounds
when it
right to me.
started. Okay, looks like 89 to 90.
Okay, yeah.
So
So they're sort of sticking with what I imagine is like the original timeline here of in 1998, cyberbrain technology is initially developed.
yeah,
Uh,
totally. Yeah, but that doesn't seem. But
I
is that
I
not what happened?
respect it. I respect it. It's not. I don't think that's exactly what happened in 1998. Actually, Pokemon got released, so totally different,
Yeah.
world changing phenomenon. But yeah. So um, anyway, so yeah. So in they go from sort of dumping this like kind of crazy like science techno babble on you about the invention of cyber brains and galactose infused polystyrene neurochips being used in AIs. And then it also kind of slaps you with like this philosophical thing. It's a really interesting notion that it's sort of harkening back to the initial like optimism of like uh the internet and cyberspace, this idea that like we're all going to get connected beyond the idea of nation states. How can we, still feud with each other and ignore our shared humanity when we're all connected through cyberspace and hanging out having a great time in VR or whatever, right?
Right.
um
Yeah. But this is the very 90s techno optimist. Like,
yeah,
the internet will lead to the destabilization of nations as we understand them, and probably a lot of other social structures too. Because if you just connect everybody, the artificial barriers of a nation no longer have meaning.
right.
That's what happened, right?
Right. Also, definitely what has happened since then. Yeah. So, and you feel like the sort of like they have that optimism, but then the way they phrase it, saying that like nationality and ethnicity still cling to life despite the spread of technology. Like it doesn't, despite the technological connection happening, somehow these awful forces are still like present and at work strongly in the world. And it's sort of interesting that this project is sort of coming out well after that wave of techno optimism has died, and sort of pointing at that is really interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a really great line, right? The clinging thing. Uh, you can see that it is speaking to an idea of like go past this, that this is a world that is sort of on the edge between two things, right? There is sort of the past, the pre-90s world that is sort of concurrent with real history, and then sometime after Ghost in the Shell, maybe there will be a future that will be some sort of like sci-fi future. And right now we're in a time of, there was that quote about like right now we live in the time of monsters, right? It's sort of like
Hmm.
that about during the timeline of this show and of the manga that it's based on, we are at the collision point between two realities. And I think that's kind of what we're dealing with, where there was there's a lot of nightmares in this stuff. Like, a lot of stuff is really terrifying. A lot of stuff is
Hmm.
really scary. It's also treated very cynically and darkly. Like, what I really am looking forward to talking about is the very ending of this first episode, because it has like a pretty cynical, weird, dark ending.
Mm.
And I think that is really reflected through every part of what's going on in the Ghost in the Shell. Is that even though it's framed with this techno optimist idea of like, we're going to replace our bodies, we're going to cure diseases, we're going to connect with everyone around the world. The actual like content of the show is about like drugs and sex and, you know political manipulation. It's about bribes. It's about threats. It's about all the horrors that are coming with this sort of cyberpunk future world. Um, and again, like, I cannot escape that this is a very dark, very cynical thing. But it's also really cool, and you get both ends with it together.
Yeah. Yeah, and the opening scene also hits you with all of that. So it starts out with basically Aramaki, the who we're being introduced to. He's clearly he's got a great grizzled cop look. He comes on screen and you're immediately like, okay, this is like a veteran, badass, like investigator guy. He's listening in on this political conversation that's happening between some leaders of nations that's happening. They're making some sort of smoky backroom deal, and he gives the order to basically send his public security guys in and bust this whole thing up.
Right. What's
Uh,
important is he's leading cops here, right? They're labeled
yes,
as police. It's not clear who Aramaki is at this point, but he's ordering around the police in this really like high pressure, high like they're about to move on these diplomats who are talking about some very confusing so clearly some bribery and shenanigans going on amongst them.
yeah, clearly a very intense situation, and I also love just thematically that they open this up the first shots of the city, and as they're sort of doing establishing shots here, it's all raining, heavy rain, and I just love that. Like it's such like a classic cyberpunk thing, like Blade Runner soaked in rain, like just that kind of like heavy depressing atmosphere. So I love that they just get us in there like right away with that. And yeah, so Aramaki sends his guys in, and basically, it's interesting because they get the jump on them. It seems like Aramaki has the upper hand. He's talking about like, "Oh yeah, you're screwed. We're gonna get this guy to testify against you." Blah blah blah. And then the guy who's sort of heading the shadowy meeting, is like, "Actually, I'm gonna put him under my custody, and I'm just gonna take him with me, and you can't do shit about it."
Right.
And
Where I'm a diplomat, like,
yeah,
oh, you're gonna try to extradite him? Well, we'll look at your paperwork in a
yeah,
few
it's gonna take
months.
some
Right.
time. Yeah, and you can see this is actually like kind of it's working. Like Aramaki is actually stonewalled by this. Um and then what happens is he just kind of like explodes.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, so this is one of the differences between the TV show and the manga. That the
Okay.
TV show does a really interesting thing where when he explodes, there's this sort of like digital effect to the explosion,
Yeah, they kind
and
of censor the gore in world almost.
yeah. So it's an interesting digital effect. I'm going to talk about it for a second because it reminds me of something that you would actually see from the like cyberpunk cartoon that Studio Trigger made recently,
Yeah, okay.
where they had like weird cyber effects in the world, like when people would like glitch out and their cyber like their brain would get messed up and they would get like kind of mental issues. You'd see them like glitch visibly with
Yep.
like an effect. This reminds me a lot of that. It does not occur in the manga. So what happens in the manga is that the man clearly is shot several times and his like rib cage is exposed. You see his glasses falling from his face as his jaw is like being ripped apart as well.
Oh
His
man.
his eyeball is like falling out from underneath his glasses too. It's extremely bloody and gruesome because he has just been shot several times by exploding rounds or just something vicious. That man is no more.
That's interesting. It's just interesting that Amazon maybe it was a studio decision went with this because it's not like Amazon has like Invincible on there. Like heads get exploded in that show all the time, right? So
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
it's definitely an interesting kind of like stylistic choice to do that.
There's a
Um
little censorship later too with a sex scene.
oh
And
sure.
I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. It's cool. It's cool either way. I'm not complaining.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just an interesting difference.
So basically, yeah, so one thing I wanted to point out, I did have a screen cap that I wanted to bring up. When the cops are storming the meeting, they get in kind of like a brief gunfight with some of the guards. And there's a bit where this dude's cyber eye looks around the corner while he's taking cover. And I just thought this image right here is such a good like this guy doesn't look like he's super cybernetically enhanced, but it's like
Right.
everybody in this world is basically half a robot. He's not just wearing sunglasses, his whole eyeball pops out and there's like a computer worth of wires and shit behind it, which is just like wow, just the aesthetic here
It's fantastic.
is
It speaks to
fantastic.
sort of the confidence they have about what they think the setting is. where everybody's cyberized and they get to use it in such fun and exciting ways. This is almost a Looney Tunes bit, right? Where like your
Right.
eye like looks around the corner at somebody,
Yes.
but it's done in this
100%. Yeah.
in-world way, where his sunglasses slide out and he's looking around, like he's looking through the sunglasses around the corner,
Yeah.
and it's awesome.
Yeah, and he's like his gun is basically doing the same thing. It's like doing like the corner angle like around. It's like they don't call attention to it. It's just it happens in like 2 seconds in the action scene and then they move on. It's just like
Well, and then this guy, I
great
mean,
little
I don't know if we see
details.
him on screen get shot, but presumably this doesn't even work, right? Like the
Right.
police bust in and right through this guy.
Right,
He's got this
exactly.
cool trick, and it's like, yeah, cool tricks. And yeah, bam, bam, bam.
Right, this guy just gets dropped anyway. Yeah. Um and so the chief runs to the window. It's interesting that the security forces are responding like, this is all unexpected and oh my god, and they're like not sure what's happening. Aramaki runs to the window, looks out, and of course we get our beautiful introduction to Motoko, the classic dropping off of a building after assassinating somebody midair and then slowly turning invisible while staring back sexily.
This is
You
the
know?
Ghost in the Shell scene. This is
Yeah.
what everybody thinks of when you think of Ghost in the Shell. This is the scene that was totally iconic in the movie, and it's been adapted in every version of Ghost in the Shell like ever since.
And it's always good.
It's always good. It's still sick. Right, like the term of like, is that the 2902 thermal optic camo? That's sick. That's just a bunch of
Yes.
techno babble saying
Love
yes, she could
random
go invisible.
numbers. Yes.
Right. It's just, oh wow, she could go invisible. That's sick. But you've got to put it in the techno babble terms.
Mhm.
It sounds great. It looks great. It's fun that she's like looking at him with that sort of like weird confident smile. It's This is our first real look at Motoko.
Yeah.
She'd been built up a little bit before this. There's like a weird woman around the fringes of what's going on. But now she's just on screen, unexpectedly assassinating the main target. It's really interesting that we see her at odds with Aramaki here, right?
Mm.
Aramaki's freaked out, is trying to hunt her down, is like, he's trying to get the police to be like, we got to get the scanner over to get through the thermoptic camouflage. We got to find this person. He didn't know this was going to happen. And I remember that when I saw the movie, I didn't realize that, right? That was not
Yeah.
clear to me that that was the context of this from the movie, because the movie kind of just moves on from this.
Mhm.
But this actually lays the scene for the whole episode, where what the episode is actually about is about building the team, really. And that first step is Aramaki and Motoko meeting and getting a working relationship. When we're starting off on a pretty weird foot here, considering that she just assassinated his target right in front of them.
Mhm. Yeah, it's he's obviously trying to go for like the capture. We're gonna go to court, do this professionally, and she's like, actually, what if I just shot explosive rounds into his skull, and we just moved on?
Yeah.
It's that's like the tension that I think is I'm hoping is going to make the show like more interesting. It feels like this is going to come back a lot, like this like tension between, oh, we're trying to Aramaki likes doing things by the book, but he also gets frustrated when he gets stonewalled by this diplomatic immunity bullshit and things like that. So he sort of is like begrudgingly accepting this kind of lunatic in Motoko who's like, damn the consequences, we're just going to take these guys out, like.
Yeah, she's being framed here in this sort of like, what you and I would recognize as a very like American trope of like, this cop has a loose trigger, but he gets things done.
Yeah.
Right? That's what Motoko is here right now, right? She's unpredictable and dangerous, but she got the job done.
Mhm. Mhm. Um so yeah, so basically uh the next scene I believe is this one right here where her and Bato are kind of like or and the rest of the squad, but it's focused on her and Bato, who's like this is our kind of introduction to Bato.
Yeah.
He's the kind of number two in command of the squad. It feels like he's definitely has. You can even just get a sense from like the way that he interacts with Motoko here that they have known each other for a while, and I think it's really funny that when he plugs into her thing, she like makes the sexy moan, and I swear to God, she does it just because she knows it makes Bato uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and it's just like two like it feels like the Marines in like Aliens like fucking with each other. Just like, mercs with like crude senses of humor, just like they're just chilling with the boys and screwing with each other.
That's exactly it. This is the
Yeah.
first look at the whole team, but right now Bato is kind of front and forward. it's a little unclear what everybody's job is and role is right now, and I'm hoping we'll get some more on that later because you and I are familiar with Bato from the other Ghost in the Shell stuff,
Hmm.
and we love this man kind of as a result of that, right? He's an iconic character to us because he's so well represented in the other versions of Ghost in the Shell. Here, he's kind of just the goofy number two. He's a
Yeah.
little solid. He's a little bit like stuck up. He's easy for Motoko to like make fun of and play with. So, but that's good. That's kind of what's good about him, right? He's a good sounding board for everybody else to have some fun with.
Yeah. So basically, they get a call. This is like the thing. Aramaki calls them up and is like, "Okay, we've got a new job for you." Matoko's like, "Where's the money?" Immediately,
Yeah,
like, "Make sure you're
immediately.
paying me, bro." And he's like, check your bank accounts." And she's like, "Tachikoma," which is these big spider bots in the background. Also great characters that I hope we get more of. But like, she's like, "Hey, check my bank account." And it's like, "Brrrling. Oh, you guys have a ton of money now. Great." So they all squat up and start driving over to uh a place that I forget what he calls it, like Sweesin. It's basically like a secret, like a little apartment where they have a robot that is, and like some secure tech, and where they can kind of like run a little base of operations from. Um Oh, when they're driving over there, they do a quote unquote brain dive,
Yeah.
which is some of our first view of like how they're representing cyberspace and kind of being in that kind of like connected network. And it's really interesting. They use a lot of water like visuals. It's like swimming or like being like diving.
Right. Yeah, because like this screenshot, it really looks like what he's doing is he's almost like dunking his head into water, right? That's
Yeah.
what it looks like to me. It's got that sort of exaggerated look of somebody who's just like s- took a bucket of water and just like dunked all the way in and is like receiving now the information from having dunked their head into this thing. Because that's
Yeah.
what's going on is that they're diving into Motoko's brain. And this is also, I think, where we hear the word ghost for the first time from
Yeah.
the title, Ghost in
Yeah.
the Shell.
She says, "Don't get too close to my ghost line," or something like that.
Yeah. And so what's going on though is that the team is diving into Motoko's brain in order to get the information about the job that they're about to go on. And as they're doing, they're supposed to not get too close to the ghost line. She gets a little sensitive about it, is that they're like rooting around in her brain and get a little too close to her ghost.
Yeah, well,
It's a
it's
interesting scene.
yeah, the implication here is that like you're not just accessing files that are stored in somebody's brain when you connect to their brain. You're actually in some sense like sharing their consciousness. Like some of the team members are like, "Oh, Motoko, like I'm sorry that your hands feel sore," or like they're talking, like you
Yeah.
dive in to get the files, and while you're there, you also pick up like, "Oh, I kind of have like a sore back from sleeping weird last night," and like things like that. Just by virtue of the fact that you're like doing the dive. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, like this
Um,
is sort of the core technology of the Ghost in the Shell setting. This idea that people's brains are not just brains, they're not just this isolated thing, is that they kind of have a lot of different layers because you have both a biological brain and a cyber brain, and your cyber brain contains both your like your memories and also your consciousness
mhm,
and your ghost, quote unquote, what that is, you know?
right.
Uh and that one way that you can sort of connect to other humans isn't just to talk to them, but it's to kind of become a part of their brain and get access to some of what they're thinking and feeling at the same time. And somehow, this in this case is being used to essentially send an email, right? Instead of just like
Right.
typing up and being like, "Oh, by the way, here's the job, here's the details, please read this." It's
Mhm,
like, "No, I'm going to let you like be in 30% of Mark brain for a little bit and just sort of pick up all those vibes."
right. I mean, it's probably has a lot of efficiency and sort of security benefits if you're like a secret ops team rather than just sending it over like a regular communication system. So very cool. Um, so when they get to this like bunker that they're going to, now that everybody's briefed, I just had to take a screenshot of this because this is just another like creepy body thing. The I don't know what to call her, the doll, the speaker, the AI
I
who is at
They
this
only seem to call
base.
her the speaker.
Yeah.
That seems to be the best word term for it.
Yeah, and when they cut to her, she's in this, like, powered off state where that's, like, half sexualized and, like, half, like, has, like, a horrified kind of look on her face, And it's just like, why did you why is this the interface for your computer in some sense?
Well,
But
so
like,
that's what it is that this
yeah,
is what's going on for the viewer is that this is the sort of the computer talking to them. Like they're able to talk to this person, but we actually have kind of figured out by now maybe that it's like a robotic doll. And that it's giving them information about the op that like, oh, we have surveillance on this, and the team is asking like, okay, well, bring up footage from this, and it brings it up, and it's like, oh, well, why don't we have footage from this? And it answers back, but it's almost more equivalent to like on Star Trek when you're like talking to the computer, right? It's just kind of
yes.
like a voice interface for a computer.
Right. It's
Um,
like if Alexa or Siri or whatever was actually just embodied in like a bot. And she's kind of been like spying on she's been watching this orphanage facility for time.
right, because that's what
And
the plot's going to be about now for the rest of
yes.
this episode is about this orphanage.
I wrote down the name of it because it's just one of those like kind of evil sounding
I
uh
have it here. So it's
oh
the
yeah, bring it
Sacred
up.
Citizen Relief Center.
Yes. Great. Just
Wild.
like love that it's both a government orphanage and has like weird religious implications being called like, sacred. So just like you immediately you're like, "Oh, this place is evil." Like we're just dealing with like a classic evil orphanage situation here.
Yeah. So I do want to talk a little bit about this woman speaker for just 1 second because this
Yeah.
is a case where there's a little bit of a difference between how you described it and how it's presented in the manga.
Okay.
I'm scrubbing through the episode right now just to get it exactly right, but the big thing is at the end of this conflict, she's gonna die, right? She's gonna get hurt
Yes.
and die, and
Yeah.
it's a big moment because it's kind of sad and weird looking, but also it
Yes.
it isn't sad because it's not a real person.
Right, Motoko's
In
like,
the
"Who
manga,
cares?"
that's a twist. In the
Oh,
manga,
okay.
this she's presented like a person up until that moment.
Okay. Yeah, that would have
So
been a
there's
little more effective. Yeah.
yeah. So up until then, you're like, oh, this is like some lady, and like, yeah, she's like plugged in. She clearly has robot parts.
Mhm.
She has like the plugs in the back of her neck, and everything's going on like that.
Yep.
But there's no disrespect or anything being presented to her. Maybe very subtly, like Bato and the Major are like talking around her,
Right.
but there there's not that scene where she's just like sitting there stiff. So in the anime, they add the scene where like when you first see her, she's just sitting there like completely stiff, not reacting, and then kind of boots up as
Mhm.
people start talking to her. But it's more of a twist in the manga that when she gets hurt, the main characters don't care, and it's because she's not a person. She's like a Siri robot, right? It doesn't
Right.
matter. It's sad and weird, but like you can quickly follow that that makes sense. Like they're just gonna reinstall some new software and do some repairs, and she'll be back.
Right. And I think later in this episode or the next episode, you see like a bank of like four of these in a row, like all like in front of Aramaki. So you like get the idea that like, oh, these are like mass produced. Like, yeah. So that's it. That's interesting. That is an interesting difference.
Yeah. I mean, I really like it because it goes back to the thing I really noticed as I was going through the manga again was like, this is a kind of like really cynical, dark take.
Mm,
The world isn't so dark in the like cyberpunk sense where it's like super, you get Blade Runner or something where everything's falling apart and it's apocalyptic. This is a pretty normal world. People can live
yeah.
like relatively normal lives. But every time that the author has a chance to like kind of punch you in the gut a little bit, there he really does. It's great.
Hmm. The reason that they're being pulled in to check out this orphanage or possibly intervene there is because the speaker here has basically flagged that they have something called a ghost controller, which is a highly illegal piece of technology that allows you to control somebody's ghost or essentially take over their consciousness and like use their body. Um, Obviously, something that would be like publicly a highly illegal technology, but is also has very obvious military, usage. So if that's the case that this orphanage has one of those, then they need to go in there and take care of that. But there's some interesting kind of Motoko feels like they're maybe being set up. Like this is going to be really bad if they go into an orphanage and there's nothing there, or
Yeah.
like not a ghost controller. If it's just like a regular evil orphanage, you still don't want to send in like your cybernetic SWAT team to eliminate that. It's kind of an overreaction.
Yeah,
So,
and the tension is that this is the first job with Aramaki, right?
right.
Like this is the intro was her and Aramaki kind of on opposite sides. Now they're working together, but they still don't really trust each other, or at least she doesn't really trust him.
Yeah, she's worried that he is setting her up to take a fall on this for whatever reason because she doesn't really trust him yet. Um, and then eventually she makes the decision. She says, "You know what? My ghost is telling me, let's just do it. Let's go in there."
Yeah.
Which is basically her saying, "I got a hunch. Fuck it. Let's do it live." Um, so yeah, they decide that they're going to go in there, and it's interesting. So basically, as soon as they decide that they're going to go in, the one of the kids who's inside, I've got another great picture here of the more wired technology, cyberpunk aesthetic. This like brainwashing devices are great.
Yeah. That's pretty
Visually, they're
cool.
great.
Yeah. But I like the neck rest, right?
Yeah, yeah, like your head is trapped in there. It's got
Yeah.
Clockwork Orange vibes a little bit.
Oh, definitely.
Really great stuff. So basically, we cut to a shot of this brainwashing room, and this kid freaks out and starts running. He manages to escape, and they decide that.
Well, you haven't mentioned why he freaks out.
Oh, oh, you're right. Go ahead.
Because he freaks out because the team has started to investigate, and what they did is they were like, "Okay, let's jump in the cyber brain of one of these kids."
Right. They like look
So
through his eyes.
yeah, they basically hijack his brain for a quick second, not to control him, right? Because they're not doing the ghost controller thing. But
Right.
apparently, in this world, he has a cyber brain. So even like an orphan like him has a cyber brain enough that they can like basically look through his eyes. But he notices, he can feel that there's somebody else in his head, and that's what causes him to freak out and start running.
Right. Right. Yeah. Um. So when he takes off, they basically decide to put a bug on him is the move. They're like trying to still be like kind of cautious is interesting. They're like, all right, so he's gonna run. When he gets outside, we'll catch him and throw a bug on him. And the
Right.
way that they do this is so sick. They get I think this is the first time that Ishikawa here is gets to show off some of his skills. And is he the hacker or the sniper? I always get him confused.
So in the other versions, he's the hacker. So
He's
I
more of
assume
the
that's what he
hacker
is here.
guy. Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's and to be fair, everybody's a hacker, but he's like, "No, I'm the hacker."
Yeah, yeah.
So
They all have specializations, but also
yeah,
they're all like these amped up, super soldier kind of guys. So they're all great at everything
yeah.
except Tokusa.
So the way that they do this is so sick. So the guard is chasing after the kid, and he's like this big cybernetic like RoboCop guard. And Ishikawa shoots like a another again more cables, a wired cable that shoots out into this guy's neck and like puts him into sleep mode for 30 seconds. And then
Hmm.
while he's in sleep mode, Togusa goes out, grabs the kid, sticks like a bug software tracker on him, and then throws him back out. And then this guy goes off of sleep mode, none the wiser. It's
Right. So
such a cool plan.
it's so good because the kid's being chased by the security guard, and mid chase, the team grabs both halves of this chase, grabs both the guard and the kid, like stuns them both, does plants a bug on the kid, and now goes, "Okay, resume. Nothing happened. Right?
Right,
We just disappeared.
right.
Like you just lost 30 seconds, but you still think you're running. You still think you're chasing. You don't even know that we just like bugged you right in the middle of all this happening.
Yeah, just like straight like reality hacking type shit. Very cool.
It's incredible.
Um so also what's cool is that even though this is a great plan, it basically doesn't work. It almost immediately stops working once
So
the
many things go wrong. I was not
yes.
prepared for that.
Yeah, it's
When
a
I was
big
watching
back and
this,
forth.
I
It's not like they wipe these guys.
no, the team like over and over again is kind of like their plans just do not work, and this is I think the first big one.
And then they have and you see this guy and you're like, "Oh, this guy has a cool design. He's like a real threat." And you don't know right away that this is the guy who has the ghost control software. But you can tell that like, he's got the talon claws and his
Yeah,
helmet has like this cool like when it comes down, it almost has like a beak, kind of like he's got like this hunting eagle design that's like very
right. Plus, he
cool.
just has a big nose under the helmet, so it's
Right.
all
Yeah, yeah. It's all good.
that's the thing.
Very,
But yeah,
very
he has like the
bird-like
better
predator.
version of the guard armor on.
Yeah,
Right, they all
yeah.
have the armor, but he has the good armor, so he's in charge.
Yeah. So he catches up with the kid and he starts looking at him and he like immediately finds the bug. And this is where what you alluded to earlier happens. He backtraces the bug and it's, connected to where the speaker doll is,
Yeah, their little
and
remote base that that the team is operating from.
yeah, and he assumes that this is actually like a person who's listening in, and he sends like a kill virus down the line to basically brain fry them. And we see, I got this happens really fast, but I got one good screenshot of basically like blood just explodes out of her head. And I think most of her head also ends up exploding, but this is kind of what we can see of it.
Right, because this is what happens in the Ghost in the Shell universe when you get hacked, right? Like, your computer is a brain, and if they mess up that computer in your brain enough, it just fries and fritzes out, and your whole head kind of explodes.
Right. It's like they've blue screened your physical brain and you're out.
Which, in this
S
case, this isn't a real person with a real brain, but it's the same kind of idea that
Right.
don't
And
don't don't mess up when you're hacking in Ghost in the Shell is what I'm getting at.
yeah, and another thing that signals that this guy is like on another level is that he fries the AI and then he goes like, "Oh, I didn't sense the like normal like cries of like terror and despair like when you ice somebody over like cyberspace, you can normally like feel their ghost being snuffed out." So he knows
Dude.
that this was an AI because he didn't feel that,
Oof.
which is a crazy thing to say. And then so but that tips him off to the fact that these are like he's dealing with like a squad of professionals. These aren't just like you know, random hackers or whatever. So he
Yeah.
kind of is on high alert at that point. And he ends up getting control of Ishikawa for a little while. He kind of he basically gets behind him, sticks a wire into him, and starts ghost hacking him so that he is starts doing like friendly fire stuff and shooting at the rest of the team, things like that.
Yep.
Um, and there's another interesting like we get more like kind of cyberspace stuff. There's like a brief scene where essentially as soon as they realize that there is a ghost controller on their kind of network, they all just like pull the ripcord and like disconnect from the whatever shared system they're on like as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Kusanagi, she it seems like she's controlled for a second, and it kind of
She is.
forces her to throw her Tachikoma like off a cliff basically, and she ends up kind of at the last second like ejecting herself and kind of forcefully disconnecting that way.
Yeah. The
Um
team is getting played. I mean, they're getting
yeah,
worked by this guy.
yeah,
It's
this guy
incredible.
is really like he's for a second there it feels like he's actually going to just take them all out.
Yeah.
Which just goes to show how crazy dangerous like the ghost key tech is. Like if you can just take over other people, it's actually really insanely powerful.
Yeah, it's clear that's his secret weapon here. He's dominating not just because he's got the cool robot body, but the
Hmm.
ghost key that these guys were after in the first place is letting him just one by one pick off the team by basically making them crash into walls and stuff. During all this, Togusa also, who is the like rookie of the team, also smacks into a wall. But I don't think he was ghost controlled. I think he just hit like pilots his Tachikoma into a wall.
Yeah, the major's like, "Get out of there, Togusa," and he like turns around and high speeds it, and it seems
Yeah.
like the implication is that maybe that gate wasn't there, and then once this guy realized that they were under attack, they like
Oh,
turned
okay.
on like like a security gate. I think that gate wasn't down before, and so he just like guns it, and then he's like, "Oh shit, there's a wall
Yeah.
there now!" Boom, and he
Okay.
smashes into it.
Right.
Um,
Okay. Togusa does not come out of this episode looking very good, but
no,
he's the rookie, and I think that's the whole point of him is that he's just being comic relief.
yep,
But it reinforces that once again the team is just getting smacked. Right. Ichikawa got hacked. Saito is like freaking out about it. The major gets hacked. Bato's out there. I don't know what's happening to Bato. I think he's doing fine, but the team is having some issues with this
yeah.
guy.
Um, They do end up taking him out. Basically, I think once the major disconnects, she just turns on her fancy camouflage. And again, this it's sort of highlighted that you know there's levels to this tech. She has what is like the best thermo optic camouflage, and this guy he has a line about like there's no heat, like there's no sound, like it's doing all sorts of things to dampen her signal on like multiple levels that make it such a good like cloaking tech. And so once she's able to disconnect from his control, she basically just sneaks up on him and does the old explosive rounds trick. If it works
Well,
once, it works twice.
that is true. That does happen, but what first happens is that he gets sniped. So he's lured out to a position. They
Hmm.
place a little dummy doll to lure him out, and then the
Right.
sniper hits him through a cement wall. So this
Yes.
is this is how they initially have to get him, is that they figure out where he's going to be, and then they have the sniper shoot him through a bunch of walls and stuff, so he can't see it coming. Right? He can't
Hmm.
perceive it because
Hmm.
it's through these thick walls. But whatever rifle they're using is just like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. We're just gonna shoot right through all these cement walls. So they smash him, and you see both of his legs are taken out in one shot. And then that's when she comes in with the cloak and is just finishes him off.
Right. And I got this is the shot of him getting his legs sniped off through the walls. Just a beautiful slow motion arcing shot. Uh, and again, giant cables, everywhere
It's great. Again,
as limbs are being ripped apart.
like what the real showcase of Ghost in the Shell is just the like love of this kind of technology. It's all
Yeah.
about showing off both like the cables and the cool like looks that the character designs have, right? This guy has the really weird, backpack on his back and the helmet on his head and the armor, and everybody's got a great design that showcases how they interface with this settings level of technology. And also then you get all the dialogue about how the tech also works, about the cool thermoptic camouflage and the ghost hacking keys and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's delight.
Yeah. So yeah. So basically, that's kind of how the episode ends. They arrest this guy, and then we get a little bit of an epilogue scene with Aramaki, and the other guy in that call is the prime minister, right? Is that correct?
He's referred to as the boss, like he's Aramaki's boss.
Yeah.
It's not clear to me whether he is the prime minister at this point. There was a bit where Motoko, I think, ran into him earlier, talking about how she had like the kill order that in the opening scene when she assassinates the
Hmm.
guy, she was ordered to do so by the previous prime minister.
Yes.
So I am assuming that this guy is the current prime minister. I think that's the right read.
Okay. Yeah. And it it's he's basically pitching to them like, okay, well, this went okay or whatever, but like, he recognizes that Motoko is kind of a loose cannon, and
Yeah.
he's trying to officially bring her on board. Like, they don't want to do this like separate team that we pay every now and then kind of thing. And her response to that is to use their illegal ghost controller key to hack into him and make him punch himself in the face. A trick that we will see probably dozens of times going forward
Yeah.
in this
Basically, this becomes her
anime.
signature move.
This is the
Uh, you
bit.
know, yeah, you don't realize when you're watching this episode that this is Motoko learning her signature move. It's kind of like Batman like learning to like do the symbol kind of thing of like,
Hmm.
oh, I'm gonna get my car or my cape or something. Like this is that, but for her trick of like, "Ah, you're so annoying. I'm just gonna make you punch yourself."
It's so good.
There is one scene we sort of slid past, which is after the orphanage has been basically taken down, right?
Yeah.
Like
Oh
the
yeah, with the yes, where she
the
talks
kid.
to the kid after. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's talk about
It's
that.
such a crazy scene. So basically, like they just took down like the guard, the guy. His ghost controller has been taken away from him. He's surrendered. The team is ready to sort of like move out. They're wrapping things up, and there's a final conversation between Motoko and then the kid that they had planted the bug on. So this is just some
Right.
random kid who was at the orphanage now at this point, and he talks to her, and he's like, basically like, "Oh, this is great. Like you're gonna take me away from here, right? Like
Right.
this
Like, you
terrible
guys you guys
orphanage."
came here to rescue us, right? Like, that's what this is.
Right. And Motoko is very clear, no, that is not what this is. In fact, as far as she's concerned, he's doing fine.
Yeah.
Right? Like she says he's got a ghost, he's got a cyber brain, and that he shouldn't expect to leech off of society. Instead, he should try to be a contributing member of society. Like he's got everything he needs. He should just try to contribute to society and not take advantage of the system, not mooch off of welfare or something like that, and not get brainwashed by trashy media.
Hmm.
It's a
Yeah.
wild line. It's
It's
crazy.
yeah, and it's the way that she says like, you've got a ghost, you've got a brain, you've got like, she says, I think she also says like you have like a real brain. She has like, you have the cyber brain and like a real brain and like a ghost. Like, you got everything.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, it's said with kind of like a like almost like a weird bitterness, and she's like, just figure it out. Just you're fine, just figure it out. and then she just like zip lines off into the fucking sky, and it's like, oh, okay. Um,
So what do we think about that? Like,
well,
it's so
yeah,
unexpected from my point of view.
yeah, it is unexpected. Is this a thing that happens in the manga?
Oh yeah, straight up. In fact, it's a little funnier in the manga because like in the show, there's sort of a cut between the final fight and then like they're doing some cleanup and then he talks to her. In the manga, it's like he's been standing just off screen as they've been fighting with the like ghost controller guy. And
Yeah,
then like the second Motoko like shoots him, he like it's like, oh, fight's over, and he walks over and he's like, so now you're gonna free us, right? And it's like, dude, like 3 seconds ago she was fighting for her life. Like
right, right,
this is not the time, kid. But
yeah,
it's just manga being like a little expedient with panel counts and stuff.
right.
But the same scene does happen, and it resolves in exactly the same way. It even ends in a very funny scene where he's like, as she leaves, she like disappears like with a thermoptic camouflage into like the jungle outside of the orphanage.
Hmm.
He's sitting there and he's drawn in a very cartoonish style with like the pinprick eyes, and he goes like, "Buh, it's easy for you to say that."
Mm. Oh, it's
Like
so sad.
it's so sad. It's crazy. And both versions are basically making the same point though, that Motoko is like, she is not here to be a good guy, and especially not here to do handouts or anything. She actually has her own point of view on society, and it's something that maybe you and I might even see as a little conservative. It's something that we would
Hmm.
might say is a little like, the way the world works is that you have to make your own way in it, and that there are no handouts, and that there's nobody to help you. And if you don't help yourself, then how can you expect anybody else to help you?
Yeah. Yeah, and it makes her a more kind of interesting, complicated character than like a more cyberpunky character, right? It's not a genre where you have shining heroes who come in and rescue the kids from the orphanage. It's not like, oh, we're going to adopt this kid and he's going to become a plucky sidekick who shows up every week. It's like, no, that's not what we're doing here. And
No,
they,
Togusa's for that. We got him for that.
yeah, we're going to make fun of Togusa. He's our plucky kid. Um, yeah, it's definitely it's tone setting for sure.
Yeah.
And
You know,
it's very pointed that it's like an orphanage. Like they're really kind of hammering it in.
based on what we learn about Motoko's backstory in the other versions of Ghost in the Shell, which
Mm,
are not really canon to this, so this is a
sure.
different Motoko, but that she had a hard childhood, right? Like she's in a full cybernetic body now, and the reason for that is tragic. It's not 100% laid out, but that obviously there was a tragedy that kind of led to her being forced into this cyberization and not doing it because she wanted to, and that on some degree, I think maybe canonically she probably did get some handouts. She probably did get a lot of help from people when she was hurt and had to become cyberized. But that she's somebody who sort of sees strength as the ultimate choice, right? Not only did she get a cybernetic body, but she get a powerful one. She has
Mm,
become a sort of government operative. She's dangerous, right? Like she's literally like one of the most advanced cyborgs we see in the entire show.
hmm.
She's capable of taking down this kind of combat cyborg that we saw her fight in this episode. She's a very scary person, and I guess that makes sense that she's trying to sort of teach the hard lesson that she had learned about like, you have to be like me. You have to be powerful. Maybe
Right.
not physically powerful necessarily, but I think her point would be more of like, the best thing you can do for yourself is to not wait for handouts because that'll make you weak. It's to grab strength, to grab power. And I think that's what she's trying to get at in this sort of moment, if you were to ask her this way. But again, I also think that she doesn't care. And maybe that's the deeper truth here, is that she just sees some kid being sad and she's like, cool. Anyway, money, money, money. I'm gonna get paid for this job, right?
Right.
I'm gonna work on my team. We're gonna build up my team and deal with Aramaki, and some kids' problems are just not my problem.
Right. There's just too many orphans in the world for me to give a shit. I'm gonna fly off and do my thing. And
Yeah,
I think it is also kind of like it's tying back into her philosophy of how she does things, the carving your own path. Like again, the episode ends on that button of her refusing, like, we will never be part of public security
right.
ever.
Yeah, she's willing to sort of burn her bridges with this. She gets her boss's boss to punch himself in the face. She
Right.
is totally fine being like, "Hey, it didn't work out," you know?
Right. Right. And the glorious thing is that of course they still come basically crawling back to her
Of
to
course.
get her to
Yeah,
do work for them.
right, because she's so effective, she's so powerful. She's the badass cop that everybody has to look the other way and say, yeah, he's got some rough edges, but he gets the job done."
Yeah. Yeah. And when we get into the next episode, it's really cool how the beginning of that kind of buttons off some of these points too. Both the orphanage thing we cut back to very briefly, and also like Aramaki kind of discussing the aftermath of this face punch scene.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's a cool first episode. I mean,
yeah.
this is how it ends with it's when I saw this, it came out maybe about like 2 weeks ago, and I was just so excited to see new Ghost in the Shell. Right, this is the series that I love, maybe above just about any other anime that's out there. It's on the short list, and this is so true to everything that I love about it. It's got the great technology, it's got the great art. Right, we haven't talked about that too much
Mm,
because podcasts are a audio format. But the art throughout this is colorful and charming. Everybody's got these really goofy, over exaggerated faces.
yeah.
Aramaki is like this really hardcore, like he's just looks so silly looking, but he's also a very serious guy throughout the whole thing. Bato and all the other team members have like the crazy cybernetic designs on their faces.
Hmm. Yeah,
It's a
great
really
character
fun show.
designs all around.
It,
Yeah.
and it really marries like the political stuff that we've been talking about, where we're like, oh, what's about up with this setting, and what's up with Motoko's point of view on this stuff, but also marries to that with this great, high tension action sequence throughout a lot of the episode as well.
Hmm. That's the end of episode one. Uh, but it's not really the end of the arc. It's sort of interesting how they set up the episodes where like episode one has the prologue bit, and then you get the beginning of the Super Spartan storyline. But that is kind of like it feels basically resolved by the end of that episode, but then they give you again like the pre sort of cold open like epilogue that they label in the episode title as being like Super Spartan 2. Like this is technically like you get like a little epilogue to that first story before you actually launch into the next story, which is kind of an interesting way to format stuff.
Yeah, part of this is that just like adapting the comic, but the mangas aren't made to be adapted cleanly into a 23 episode minute
Yeah.
runtime.
Yeah. So I just yeah, I appreciate them not trying to force it.
Yeah, it still feels good. It's kind of nice to open on this note that we do open on in the next episode, which is Togusa in the aftermath of the previous job, where
Yes.
previously we had mentioned that he kind of crashes his Tachikoma tank into a wall at one point, and he's not happy about that. It's clear that that is not quite the level that people expect him to be at to be part of such an elite squad.
Right. Yeah, so we get this scene of him at home. He has this like incredibly bubbly, pleasant wife. And, you mentioned before that this is a setting where people can have normal lives, relatively speaking, and we get this just great like domestic shot of like Togusa with the baby. The wife is making some food and just like a relatively nice looking apartment. It's got like some pipes. It's got like a little like electrical thing, but generally speaking, this looks like I'd be happy to live here. This isn't
Yeah,
this is a nice apartment, you know?
right. Like I've seen a lot of downtown apartments that are basically this. This one does have some interesting notes of the lava lamp, and then even weirder is in the background behind his wife. There's like a what is that, a Maui head kind of thing?
Yeah, there's like
Wh-
an Easter Island head
Yeah,
and
what?
yeah, and then also the palm tree next to it has like a
Yeah,
glowing like LED like pot base.
right.
So
Again, though, like I'm not saying that none of my friends have decor like this, right? It's not classy. It's not, but it's like, sure, cool. This
yeah.
is how he lives, man. Sure.
Yeah. And I genuinely think looking now that I'm looking at this screenshot really tightly, this tile pattern on the wall that kind of goes over like the kitchen area and down that
Yeah.
wall there, I think this is like 100% from Blade Runner, like Decker's apartment. I'd have to
Oh,
look at a screenshot, but that motif there I think is like they just like lifted that.
yeah. It
Um
definitely has that vibe. Yeah.
yeah, in a good way, in a good way. And honestly, this whole scene kind of has a Blade Runner vibe. The way that the lighting is coming in and like the kind of column uh column of light, like that kind of like heavy noir lighting. It's good.
Yeah.
Um
But
so
Tokus is just being normie. He's just mad at,
yeah.
he's frustrated that like work isn't going
Yeah,
well.
he's complaining about his new job isn't going the way that he hoped.
Yeah. It's great.
Um and so the other thing that we cut to shortly after is this scene is wild. So we get the kid that Matoko told to carve his own path seems to have become some sort of a boss of the lost orphans. He's actually the kid in the background up here who's like shouting, and
Wow.
then we also get this shot of like this kid pops up with like this wig thing on, and I think this was the hair of the ghost controller guy.
Oh my gosh.
Like I think you kind of see the top of this like under his helmet or something.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
And
Yeah,
or the implication is that they've basically the orphans are now running the asylum essentially. So like I don't know if this will ever come up again, but like what a
yeah.
they're just a quick like they're like let's show these guys again. Like okay.
That's
Um
awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
It's crazy. I know, like, the kid who is in charge, right, the one that we talked with earlier, is just complaining, is like, "Oh, there's no money to, like, buy the stuff we need to keep this thing running because 'cause we're all being so lazy and slacking off."
Right.
But we know we're in charge, and I think that's an awesome ending point for their little storyline.
Totally. Um and then the real meat of this though is Aramaki comes to meet the team who are celebrating the mission at a bar. They're all like getting wasted, like having a good time, like job well done. Aramaki comes in and the major is like turns around at the bar and kind of like sloshes a toast and is like to the victors. Like it's like clearly a good time. And I love the way that Aramaki just kind of comes in and kind of owns this whole scene.
Yeah.
Like he's the way that he swaggers at the bar, like the way he's flipping the coin around. Uh, it's really good.
That's it. The main character of Ghost in the Shell is obviously Major Motoko Kusanagi, who's the cool cyborg commander of the elite unit. But if you actually watch the episodes, the coolest character is Aramaki, the sort of a humble, like, middleman, like, security guy who's sort of seen it all and is like got this little elite forces team wrapped around his finger. He is just dominating them in every single scene, and it's awesome.
Yeah, he's just like, all right, you guys are having a good time. That's great. Let me tell you actually how it's gonna be. He's like,
Yeah.
let me just give you the facts. And he kind of lays out that he has had this like master shell plan that he has been playing to basically create the team. It almost satisfies both his desire to kind of bring them into the fold and Motoko's desire to stay outside of it, where they're basically creating a secret unit within a public unit, which is
Yep.
supposed to be about like international like rescue operations or something like that. He kind
Yeah,
of
it's like a
gestures at.
hostage rescue unit,
Yeah, like
but
we're getting like
it's all
publicly
shell
that's what
game.
it is. But that's like
Yeah.
not what we're doing at all. Actually, we're taking like most of the budget and we're going to be like a secret squad that has no ranks, no nothing off the books. You basically just answer to me and I just answer to like the prime minister and that's how it's going to be.
It's
And they're
described as like an offensive unit, right? We're gonna go after
yes.
the baddies, not in the sort of normal like, oh, they committed a crime. We're gonna wait around and get some evidence, but we're
Right.
gonna go out there and get them.
Right. We're going to actively go after the people doing bad stuff and take them out. And uh they're just kind of like yeah, I guess that's how it's gonna be. And he's like, and I'm gonna pay you very well.
Right. And so the team that was just like 3 seconds ago, they were so proud of like, oh, we sure showed them where we got the prime minister to punch himself in the face.
Yeah,
We don't
yeah,
care what they think. Aramaki just walks in and is like, so you all work for me now. I've
right.
been working on this for months. I've got the budget. I've got the plan. It's all off books. I'm running this show. Get in line. I'll be in touch. And they're like, all right, fair
It's
enough.
like okay, I guess so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this seems all right.
And then
Except
there's a
Bato.
there's the great bit, yeah, where Bato, there's like a pure like flat comedy shot where he's just like driving through the parking lot and he turns and sees Aramaki's car and he does like the brake and then like slow reverse and gets the
It's so
mischievous
goofy.
look and you're like what. And then yeah, after Aramaki leaves the bar you just hear like a basically a fucking explosion goes off and they all run outside and Aramaki's car is like on fire.
And
Bato's
Batu's
like,
laughing
yeah.
about it. He's
Bato's like,
like,
it's
oh,
just a few fireworks. It's like, bro, it looks like you put like a grenade under his car. That's not fireworks. Like,
well, it's because he doesn't realize they like Aramaki now, right? It's like he was like, oh yeah, 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 we hate this guy. This
yeah,
guy
yeah.
sucks.
Right.
And then everybody's come around on him in the last 3 seconds while Bato was outside, and
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, yeah, I showed him, and everybody's like, oh no, "Oh no, we just got the dream gig. We just got the job. He just gave us you can't." But Aramaki doesn't care.
But once again, Aramaki is already one step ahead, and he
Oh yeah,
just cruises past on his moped.
right. I don't know where that moped came from, but somehow he had a moped ready to go.
Straight up,
Sure.
like
And he
Batman.
assigns Motoko to be like, "Hey, yeah, why don't you fix that car by the way for tomorrow? Like,
Right.
go make sure that thing's fixed and don't be late tomorrow."
Right. Now it's your job to tow and fix my car. So
Right.
great. Um,
She ends it on the final bit of the like, and like she's mad at him. She's
mhm,
like freaking out. Like, ah, I can't believe we got played like that. I'm so pissed off. And then he turns around and looks at her, and she's like, "Just make sure you pay us well."
mhm, mhm.
Just like so, she's so sweet. She just puts on the face, like,
Yeah.
just make sure the paycheck has lots of zeros,
Yep.
please.
So they're in. They're in at this point. Um,
Yeah, this is it. This is the origin story, right? It's kind
yeah.
of finished now for Section 9 as we
Right.
understand it.
Right. And Section 9 as a term, I don't think has actually been used in the show yet.
No, I'm not clear that we're actually quite at that point yet. Like I said,
Yeah.
it's finished, but it's effectively finished. We now have the organization that will become Section
Right.
9.
Right, for sure. And basically, so yeah, so after that they cut to 3 months later, and we're on we start with Bato in the jungle on kind of a recon mission. And he's talking to Aramaki, and
Who
we
just
kind of
shows up in the jungle, by the way. Aramaki,
yes.
like, Bato's
Yeah.
been doing like this, like, he's like wearing
Bato's been staked
camouflage.
out for days. Yeah, yeah. He's
Yeah.
like covered in like sweat, he's like
And
miserable.
Aramaki's just like wearing a suit and walks up and is like,
Right.
"Hey, Bato." And Bato's like, "What?" Like, man,
Yeah, it's actually
what are you
insane.
doing here?
He just appears behind him.
Yeah.
Uh, and so we kind of get the lowdown on the situation, and it's basically there's this military guy who is the head of he's the head of a military faction in kind of a small, we're told, relatively unimportant nation, according to the prime minister later.
Yeah, the
Um,
Gavel Republic, a name I don't know. I'm never gonna remember that one.
Yeah, and there's some sort of deal going on, and Aramaki is like he can smell the criminals, and there's some shenanigans going on around all this. So that's why he's had Bato gathering info, and he shows up basically because he's like, I need you to call the major and like get like we're going in on this, like we're moving past the recon phase. Um, and that is when we get the vacation scene.
One of the most iconic scenes from the manga. And now, given the social media reaction to the episode, one of the more iconic scenes from the TV show now, I'm sure too.
Okay, so there's obviously a lot of things to talk about in the scene directly, but I just want to say the way that this character enters the scene. So we come in on Kusanagi having a good time with some ladies on a boat, or with
Right.
a
She's
lady
on a
on a
boat.
boat.
Yep. With her
Uh
girlfriend.
and the camera kind of is coming in from the sky, and we see a woman like somersault kind of through the air and like land through these shimmering VR planes. And like it was unclear to me if she was actually leaping and these planes were like grav things that were slowing her body down, or if this was like a holographic projection of her from another boat. Like,
Well, so this is all like this is a reveal, right? So what's going on is very confusing at first because it's not clear what's happening. And then at
yes.
the end, it's revealed that none of this is happening. The boat isn't real. This is all happening in cyberspace in Motoko's brain.
Oh my god, I was so
Yeah,
confused. Okay.
right.
Okay, cuz yeah, cuz at the end they're in her apartment or
Right. So it
whatever.
looks real because it's like, oh wow. And they're talking about how high the fidelity settings are. And it's like, they're talking about Motoko's body, it seems like.
Yes.
Right. But what
Okay.
they're actually
Holy
talking
shit. I
about is
didn't get
actually the
that at
VR
all.
environment
Yeah.
that they're all inside of, because at the ending of the scene, suddenly they're all inside Motoko's apartment and they're just like dressed normally. They're not wearing their beach clothes. They're not wearing their skimpy outfits and
So
stuff. They're just dressed.
I thought that was like a time jump. I thought
No.
we were just seeing like a different scene with them. Okay. That makes so much sense. Okay.
So what's actually happening is that we are coming in on this scene where we are seeing Motoko and her two girlfriends having fun on this boat on the ocean.
They
They're
sure
all
are.
dressed in swimsuits. Let me give you a hint. In the manga, they are not dressed in anything. Right? This is yeah. It's far more explicit to the point of being actively like fairly pornographic in the manga. And so for the TV show, they dialed it down so that they're wearing these like fancy gloves and swimsuits and stroking each other sensually.
Yeah, the glove thing that this woman has on the right side here is like, so it's like this weird like skin thing that's growing onto her arm. It's really unclear what the function of that is.
Yeah,
But they're
she has that
enjoying it.
that in the comic. That's the only thing she's wearing, and
Sure.
it's clear that this is doing something to probably like heighten the stimulation of. I mean, she's having sex with Motoko, right?
Right.
That's what's
Yeah.
going on
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on. They're having sex, and that they're talking about how Motoko has a equalizer that is
Yeah.
like enhancing her sensitivity, basically. Like she's incredibly sensitive due to the software that they've installed in her to make her like, she has the cybernetic body that can be modified, and as a result, she's having really, really great cyber sex with these her two girlfriends.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got to get one of those glove things, whatever it is. I clearly need to get one.
All of
Um,
which leads into the comedy bit as Bato has called her, but and what they do, we already established with the first
yes.
episode, is what this means is
Right.
he's just jumping into her brain real quick. He
Suddenly
thinks
he's
he's
in
gonna
her
be like,
consciousness.
"Hey,
Yeah.
by the way, I'm just the job's up." He's a little confused about what he's jumped into.
Yeah. he he says like everything feels all slippery and slimy. Like, it's like
And he's confused about it. He
right,
does not get what's going on.
he
He's
doesn't understand what's happening. It's very funny. Uh and but anyway, the long and short of it is that he calls her and she gets the message that okay, it's time to go back to work.
crucially,
And
she's incredibly embarrassed that Bato has like seen her in this private moment.
sure.
Like they are both sort of petrified about what just happened.
Right, they do the thing where,
She's
like, we're just never gonna talk about this, right?
oh
Like,
yeah, it's
we
like
just immediately just, like, don't ever bring this up, like
right. Like if we could wipe this both from each of our brains, we would.
mhm,
We just got to move on now and get back to work.
right,
Motoko has to abandon her girlfriends, which they're very sad about.
yeah. They have a funny scene where she leaves, and they're like, "Oh, you were gonna stay with us all vacation," and she's like, "I did, vacation's over now."
Yeah.
Uh, and then, after that, we get a little bit more of, like a narrative dump, and I took this great screenshot that shows Aramaki's height difference with the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
I think this is the prime minister who comes off the
This
helicopter
is a
to chat
different.
with
Well, this is a
him.
different guy from who we said the prime minister was last time. This is a different
Right. Well, we
character.
didn't know. Okay, but I think this guy does get identified as the prime minister, right?
I can see in the
Maybe.
manga he's just being for like for foreign ministry.
Okay.
All I know is that he's somehow involved in this sort of
Important
plot line that
guy.
we're dealing with about these international relations with the like Gavel Republic that's being
Yes.
investigated right now, and a
Yes.
bunch of money from like a platinum mine.
Right. So important guy is like, okay, the military guy that y'all are spying on, the reason he's important is because he controls the platinum in the country. So even though he's not in charge of the country anymore,
Right.
he is in charge of the important resource that they have.
Right.
And
The
so
reason
there's
we care about this country is their platinum mine,
right.
and he runs that, or like he has like sort of military control over it.
And so they're weighing the options of do we back this guy and basically kind of do the more evil thing where we back the military guy and get the platinum, or do we sanction this guy, probably lose access to the platinum, but like support the democracy or whatever in the region.
Right. And
um
they're presented as a very nuanced choice, and it's both like they have their personal sense of ethics, but I think broadly what they're more interested in is just the very practical benefits toward like we gotta like resolve this situation, right? It's not just that we're trying to do the right thing, but like this guy's probably dangerous. He's probably a loose cannon. There's a situation that could explode. We need to figure out how to handle this in a discreet way.
right. um so that's kind of we get the walk and talk there. So that's basically our setup for this mission. um and then this leads into, sorry, the other big thing that kicks off what they're doing is the secretary. So I think is she the
Translator.
secretary for this guy or the
I want to say
translator?
that she's an interpreter. She's mentioned as the foreign minister's interpreter,
Okay.
but yeah, I believe that
Yes.
she's the interpreter for the guy we're seeing right now. I think he's the foreign minister, not the prime minister.
Okay.
And that's his interpreter who has been. She has a cyber brain which has been infected with some sort of virus.
Yeah. So this is really sick. I also took screen cap of this. They basically come into the room, and this is like another classic like Ghost in the Shell visual of this woman kind of laid on like a medical thing, and just an absolute like sea of wires coming out of her, and her brain has been her head is just open, and her cyber brain is just like sitting on like a little table with just tons of cables coming out of it. It looks so cool. um and she's got like a virus they call like the HA-2 or something like that.
Yeah.
uh
Notable, this is one of the scenes that's in the movie, right?
right.
So that this is actually part of the plot line that's in the movie where they've identified that the source of this virus is a hacker called the Puppeteer. And
Right.
that's all we know. That's it. That's all we have so far.
Yeah, I think Aramaki says he's been messing with terminals or something like that. They just kind of gesture that this guy's been like a big problem, but nobody knows anything about him.
Yeah, just some sort of super crazy hacker somehow involved in the situation. This is both something that shows up in the movie, so that's why this is such an iconic scene with the all like the wires and everything across the ground and the cyber brain there.
Hmm.
This is another like case where we have the show doing its own take on it.
And they're basically using her as bait. They're kind of doing the thing where it's like, oh, keep the criminal on the phone so that we can track them. Like they're kind of
Yeah,
trying to keep this, they're letting the virus hack into her, but they're kind of slowing it as much as possible and monitoring it so that they can cut it off if it would actually like get a hold of her. But they're letting it happen as much as possible so that they can try and figure out where it's coming from.
right. And it's interesting. There's a lot going on here with this scene. This is sort of what makes Ghost in the Shell so fun is that there's so
Yeah,
much density of world building and storytelling and character stuff happening all the time. In this case, there's a really specific thing happening where this particular virus is exactly right that they can do this, right? Like if it was a more advanced virus, they wouldn't be able to like it would have already taken over her.
right.
And if it was something that was like less advanced, it wouldn't be so threatening. And it's a very narrow line being walked, and they're even aware that maybe it's even suspicious that it's like exactly this right kind of virus for them to even be pulling this off in the first place.
Right. It feels like almost like they like whoever's doing this might want them to kind of trace it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Um
There's one last thing, which is
mhm,
that this woman apparently has had a previous relationship with Tokusa, who is a
right.
member of the Major's team. He's the one at the beginning of the episode who was so down about kind of his failures in the previous mission.
Mhm.
I'll be honest, I have no idea why that is, like what the relevance of that line is yet. I read ahead of the manga, I still
Yeah.
don't know. But that's a interesting bit of world building there that this interpreter who's infected has a previous relationship with Togusa.
Yeah, it is. We'll see if that comes up because it is like this. It is kind of slightly ominous that it's like the same episode where they introduce like his family and stuff too. Like you get that shot of them at home. So yeah, maybe they're building something new there. Like we are so early in the show, so they might do something to kind of swerve off the manga path. Um, so the major comes in on this, right? And what do they decide to do from here? Basically, it's like they're kind of driving around,
So,
Bato and
well,
somebody is in like a taxi driving around, like
the
trying to
the
find the
crew is
signal.
yeah, like Togusa and Bato are driving around trying to find the signal because they're having some issues. They're backtracing the virus to its source, but they can see that the perp is moving around a lot. He
Hmm.
changes location all the time, and every 7 minutes he just infiltrates this interpreter's brain for only like 5 seconds, and that's it. So it's like they're trying to chase somebody who's also on the move. Their
Hmm.
backtrace is working, but something weird is happening where they can't quite pin him down, which is why the rest of the crew, Togusa and Bato, are in the car just like trying to figure out where this guy is and where he's going.
Right, right. Um, so after they get basically Togusa and the major get the briefing, and they're like going out to I think basically meet up with them and kind of help them track the signal down.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that's right.
this is when we get the scene with them in the car, and we get kind of like an interesting back and forth between them that like ostensibly they're kind of talking about weapons and gear, but this is like feels like one of those kind of layered things where we're also kind of talking about like a little bit of the worldview of these two characters. um and the basically like the main crux of this is it starts with Togusa being like, so you guys can do like they're talking about like marksmanship, and he's like, you guys can shoot like 100 yards or whatever, and like bullseye the thing like with like a 93% accuracy. And the major's just kind of like, yeah, like obviously, like we all can do that. That's just like a basic like military cybernetic thing. And this is where we're learning that Togusa does not have a lot in the way of cybernetic implants. He's the most human in a literal like physical biological sense on the team.
Right. It seems like him and apparently Saito are also like in this category of being way less cyberized than the rest of the team. And Togusa is not only though like is he physically not on board, he also has a weird nostalgic streak because he uses a gun that is specifically like not the most advanced gun. He's using a revolver instead of the like whatever the major suggests is some sort of like sci-fi more modern kind of gun that he
Yeah,
should be
she's like,
using.
"Why don't you get like the 5 millimeter subsonic machine gun that fits in your pocket?" And he's like, "Yeah, I just like a 6 shot. I just like a good revolver that it's reliable, doesn't jam." Uh,
Yeah.
you know, and that's really interesting. It's for one thing goes along with the lava lamp. My man likes his old school stuff. He's got his lava lamp and his revolver.
And let's be
Uh,
honest, he has kind of like an 80s haircut too.
he does. He does look a lot like you could just kind of pluck him into like any kind of like 80s like cop show and he would fit right in. He doesn't
Totally.
have like the lines on his face with like plugs. He doesn't have any of that stuff. He's
Right, we've
just he's
seen
just kind
even
of
just,
wearing
like,
a cop
random
suit.
characters have, like, little terminals in the back of their neck or, like,
Yeah,
and I think the foreign minister had, like, 3 little, like, cybernetic lines right on his forehead,
right.
and it was clear, like, we don't know what those are, but it's telling us something about him.
Hmm.
Tokusa doesn't have any of that. He's wearing, like, a leather jacket. He's got, it's open in the front. He really looks based on, like, an American cop is the way that I would kinda describe him of, like, the '80s films. He looks like he's gonna kick down a door.
Hmm.
But in this context, people are making fun of him for it, basically. He's
Yeah,
just not really up to par with everybody else. And he's like, "Oh, I've never seen somebody do sharpshooting like that." And they're all like, "Maybe you should download their sharpshooting software, idiot."
hmm. uh And so yeah, so they're having this back and forth about gear. The major's gearing up, and I there was a little detail that I noticed when I was going back through the scene that so you can see here she's got the you can see the camo, the invisibility cloak basically
Yeah.
like on her. She's kind of putting it on in the background while they're talking. And then in the next shot that you see her, it's gone. But I think
Oh,
I think the
it's like
assumption is
invisible,
that
right?
she's still wearing it. Yeah.
Right. That's cool.
Um, which is just so subtle because she's using it later, and it's like, oh, what did she like run back? It's like, no, she always has the invisibility cloak. It's just invisible. Um,
That's nice.
I think that's really cool. So, and yeah, she's got one of her. You can see one of the like future guns. So, like, imagine being a guy who shows up with a revolver against somebody who is using this weapon. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
good luck.
Right. He's like, "Pow pow, look, big bang." And she can just be like, "Hold trigger, unleash 3,000 bullets," right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's
done.
really nuts. Um, So basically, the rest of this episode is kind of goes into like a little bit of a cat and mouse chase. We get introduced to after like these guys are briefing. Okay, so we know they're going to meet up with the team. We cut to like these garbage men, and at first we're like, you're kind of like, what's going on with these guys? We just kind of see them on their job, like going around, and what's happening is that one of them keeps getting out and like swiping a card into like payphones and making phone calls. Somehow in this world of 2029 cyberpunk, we still have like public uh terminals of some type. um
I
and
guess,
he's
yeah.
so every time they stop somewhere to basically pick up some garbage, he also makes one of these phone calls. And the other guy, there's a little bit of like backstory with, like as they're going back and forth, like this guy's talking about like, oh, like I'm getting a divorce and I can't see the kid. And the other guy seems like, I don't know, he's like it feels like there's something off. Like the other guy is kind of giving him like weird looks while they're having these conversations. And I like that this feels a little more drawn out than it is in the movie. We spend like a little more time with these guys going from kind of place to place. um and you get the feeling that there's something kind of off about the guy who's making the phone calls, but you don't really know what. It's
Yeah.
just like vibes.
Right, you can see that his partner also thinks there's something off. He just, but he's also just trying to get through the day,
Right,
right?
he's
This
just
isn't
he's
an
like, whatever,
investigator.
man, I'm just a garbage man, I'm just trying to get my paycheck and like go home.
Yeah.
um and so what happens is we kind of realize that they realize that the signal is coming from the garbage men, because like Togusa and or not Togusa,
It's like
Bato.
Ichikawa
Yeah,
and the other guy. Yeah.
yeah. They show up and they're like, the signal was right here, but there's nothing here. We're just in an empty alley. And then a guy comes out and he's like, oh, well, the garbage men were just here.
Yeah. Oh, can you take my garbage? It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
thanks, man.
And they're like, oh shit, the garbage men. And that's when they kind of realize that's why the signal is moving, is because it's these guys going around in the garbage truck.
Yeah.
So we get they start going after them, and what I forget what tips them off that they've been like that the jig is up. Like the guy realizes that they know
So, yeah,
he's been compromised.
I am trying to figure that out right now too. I feel like Togusa somehow screws up is the actual answer here. Um, let's see. Oh, no, no. Okay, so what happens is that they get a call from the garbage men get a call on their truck from their boss. And their boss is like, "Why did the
Oh,
cops just ask about your route?"
yes, right.
So,
Uh, and
yeah,
that's
it's
when they
again, it's
know
you're
they're in
seeing like the
trouble.
little weird failures in the system here of like once they figure out it's the garbage men, somebody working for public security reaches out and gets the route, but they
Hmm.
don't quite have their act together enough to tell them, and by the way, don't
Don't tip
talk to
them
the
off.
guys.
Yeah,
Yeah, like don't say anything.
right. So yeah, so then they're like, okay, oh shit, we're screwed. And
Right, the
again,
cops are
like,
asking about us. Something
yeah,
bad is happening.
right. And this guy, his backstory, the other thing that I forgot to mention is that he talks about the reason he's scanning this card and like making this call. He doesn't really know what he's doing. It's that he met a guy in a bar who
Yep.
heard his sob story about his wife and kid divorcing him, and basically offered to pay him a bunch of money to like, and was just kind of like, didn't tell him anything, was basically like, go do this, just
Well, no,
go,
what
right.
that's actually it's not quite it. It's not money. It's that what he's saying is he told the guy, "Hey, if you swipe your card in these different terminals, you'll be hacking into your wife,
Oh,
and that'll
right, they're
help you
trying to
understand."
spy on her.
Right, he's just trying to
Yes.
spy on his wife. He's just like, "My wife is
Yes.
breaking up with me, and I literally don't know why. I'm getting this divorce, and it just doesn't make any sense. My
Mhm.
wife isn't telling me anything. She's just talking to me through these lawyers. I need to understand."
Mhm.
So this guy helped me out. He told me that if I just swipe this card in these terminals, it'll help me. It'll let me like hack into my wife, and I'll be able to understand like what she's really thinking.
Right. Right. Um, and that's
It's just
gonna
crazy.
yeah,
Like that's
it's like obviously psychotic.
right. And like
And
once his partner figures out this is the story, he's also like, this is crazy, right? Like
right,
this is like I think this is stupid. This is like one of the most insane things I've ever heard,
right,
right? Like he's not freaking out and leaving or whatever, but he's like, you are an idiot. Like
right.
this is dumb.
When he pulls that story out of him, he's like, oh man, this fucking rube. Like he doesn't
Yeah.
know what we're into, but like he knows we're into some shit. And that's basically right when their boss calls and is like, hey, why are the cops talking about you? And that's kind of when everything goes to shit.
Right. The driver, the one who's been making the calls, like freaks out when he gets that call and is like, "Oh man, I gotta warn that nice guy who helped me out with
Right,
this.
right.
My
I gotta let him
buddy,
know.
yeah, my buddy's in danger. I gotta warn him." Which again, completely insane reaction.
A weird thing to think, and then the response to that is he's like suddenly like flooring it, right? Like
Right.
they're not like, okay, drive casual, like let's just play it cool, like because at this point there's no cops or anything behind them,
No,
but
they just start charging to the city to some
they
sort of
just
meeting
peel
place.
off like crazy. Yeah,
The important thing is like we're calling out that this is a strange story
yeah,
because in universe it is. This is not. This is like will later learn, not in this episode, but we've seen the movie
yeah,
that this is not on the up and up. This is not what really happened.
yeah. Um, yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how they decide to play all that. So yeah, so he's like, okay, we got to warn him. They're driving like fucking crazy. And then we end up cutting to a guy who is also on like a payphone.
Yep.
Um
Pretty ordinary looking guy.
yeah, and he like the camera kind of like is on him and he turns and sees the garbage truck like driving straight at
Hurtling
him.
at him.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like,
at like full speed. And the guy is hanging out the window and he's just shouting like, "They know! Hey!" buddy. And this guy's just like, he immediately pulls out again, like a crazy future gun and just shoots like explosive rounds into the garbage truck and
Yep.
explodes them.
And
Uh,
this is also, of course, then when public security gets in.
right. So this is like around the time that like the major and all of them are catching up with the scene here.
Exactly, because like as this is happening, he like shoots the garbage truck, and then one of the team's Tachikoma tanks just like jumps in, and the guy starts having to run away from the Tachikoma and like the garbage truck, and it's just chaos. Like nobody understands what's happening. The guy on the phone who's shooting the truck is like running away. The truck drivers are all confused. The Togasa and the Major are completely confused. Like nobody's understanding what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, it is yeah, and like we're saying, it is confusing in world because everybody's like, "What is happening?" The garbage people don't seem to know what's happening. The guy the guy's response at the payphone seems kind of insane to what's happening. Like we're not expecting him to just like explode the truck as a
Yeah,
response to seeing them
right,
driving at him.
right. He immediately just pulls out a gun and starts shooting them. Like
Yeah.
it's bonkers.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then he also takes off down an alleyway. Kind of the last thing we see in the episode is that he takes off down an alleyway, and he has, I believe, what's called out as Type 17 camouflage.
Damn.
Clearly not as good as the 2902 that the Major is using. Uh, like 2900 less numbers, so it's got
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
much worse.
Right. It's
Um,
like cell phones, right?
yeah.
It's like you want the bigger numbers.
And that's basically where the episode ends, is with kind of all hell breaks loose. This guy takes off. The team is on the chase, and I imagine that's where it'll just pick up next time with trying to hunt this guy down and figure out what the hell is happening here.
Yeah, this is clearly a cliffhanger ending. It's obviously like a part one of two. The previous episode kind of ended with the orphanage plot being resolved, and yeah, we got a follow up scene on it later. But
Hmm.
what's really going on was like that plot was done. This one is not. We are still in the middle of whatever's happening with. There's so many plates in the air. There's the like
Right.
interpreter with the brain that has been hacked by the virus and is currently like getting eaten away by the virus, which has led to this garbage truck that's acting weirdly, which has led to this guy who's at the payphone who's acting weirdly and is running away in the camouflage. Plus, we've got like Bato was spying on that military leader, so who was like in charge of the platinum mine. There's a lot of plates in the air that I think we can expect to be resolved in the next episode. So, what do you think of these first two episodes?
Uh, I'm really impressed. I wasn't sure about the art style and everything when I looked at the like the trailers, and I know that it's closer to the kind of manga. I think it was tough in trailer. It does the thing where it kind of fluidly moves back and forth between more cartoony stuff and more realistic stuff. And
Yeah.
sometimes that annoys me, but they do it in a really good way where it's it's always used like for the right emphasis at the right times. And it's almost like the art also helps set the tone for the scene that you're in. It kind of lets you know how serious or goofy what's happening is in like how the writing is taking itself at the time too, you know?
Talking about the art, one of the big things is that yes, it is definitely more similar to the manga. Obviously, the manga is more detailed. This is something you always get with animation, where the animation kind of strips out some of the detail and makes things even more cartoony than they otherwise would be. So I think that the manga that this is trying to base itself off of does alternate styles more often. It has the like
Mm,
really cartoony, goofy, like the major making somebody punch themselves, and that's done in a very cartoonish style. But then it also has the very detailed, like sci-fi stuff of the world and the wires, or like some badass guy with his cyborg body that is really like rendered in a very impressive detail and brings to life how intense it is. That's never going to quite make the translation, but they do try a little bit, like you're showing right now, the cyber
yeah,
brain, and that's a pretty intense bit. That's a great one. The other interesting bit is that the manga is not in full color. Manga is traditionally not in full
right,
color, right?
right.
That's not a normal thing. If you read One Piece or something, you're probably reading it in black and white. Um, this the show is in full color, and they make a lot of interesting choices where pretty much everything is in these very strongly saturated colors all the time.
Mm,
It's always bright, these bright blues, bright reds. You get the external shots that are a little bit more like washed out from the sunlight, but
mhm.
whenever you see a character, they're always rendered in these like really bright colors. It's an interesting choice. There are colored pages in the version of the manga that I'm looking at, which is the kind of like dark horse version that was published in the early 2000s in the US, and is kind of how a lot of like Americans would read the manga for the first time.
Mm.
There's some colored pages, and they're interesting. It's a little different style. It's like a watercolor style that's kind of different from the TV show. So it's interesting that they kind of landed on this bit. It does emphasize the cartoonishness, right? This is something that
Yeah.
makes this version of Ghost in the Shell different from other Ghost in the Shells. This one has a broader, I'm not going to say it's like a more cartoony version, but has a broader range of what it's capable of, right? It has both the intense sci-fi stuff and the darkness and the violence, but then it also has the team hanging out a bar and Motoko and Bato like being very embarrassed after a brain dive and
Yeah.
stuff like that. That's very funny.
Character, and the like playing the prank on Aramaki and all that kind of stuff. It punctuates it with like some nice, like more lighthearted stuff. Like, we're comparing it a lot to the movie because that's a lot. The plot here starts to get really close to that, but it's just like the movie tone is super, super like serious and dour. I don't know if there's a joke in the entire movie, like, or if there is, it's like really probably a dark joke.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really different feeling even though we're seeing the same events in many
Yeah,
cases.
right.
All this garbage truck stuff happens in the movie, all the stuff with the interpreter's brain happens in the movie. But the version, especially of the main character of the major, Motoko Kusanagi that we see here, is really, really different. Like that's the
Mm,
big difference at the end of the day is like who the main character is, because this is sort of an origin story for her in this version of the story, right? We're kind of getting not where she comes from, but kind of how Section 9 is formed and her relationship with Aramaki and how she becomes part of this security team. And so she's still a young character. She feels like she's, it's hard to
yeah,
tell. She's got like a cyber body, but like maybe late 20s or something. And she's very prone to being embarrassed. She's very prone to screwing up. She's prone to goofing around. She's, when she's talking to her girlfriends and kind of like embarrassedly being like, I'm sorry, like I gotta go. My boss is calling. I know it's awkward. I promised you to hang out, but haha. Anyway, please lock up when you go. Right? It's like she's
yeah,
goofing around with people all the time. It's a huge part of her is that she's kind of a chaos gremlin, right? Like
yes,
this is kind of
absolutely,
what her deal is. Whereas in the movie, she's always got this like flat expression. The
right.
whole plot of the movie is about how she's like losing touch with her humanity and is being like feeling like she's not a real human anymore, right? She's been living so long in this robot body that she doesn't feel like a person, and eventually at the end of the movie has to become something new and different. Um, so it's really interesting to see this chaos gremlin version of such an iconic character.
Yeah, and I've watched some other, like, I've watched some of the first season of the Ghost in the Shell first, like, anime series.
Yeah, the standalone complex is that one.
Yeah, and she feels more, like, more closer to this version, but not, obviously not all the way here, but, like, she's definitely more kinda, like, has, like, a bit of the kinda, like, a jokiness in
Yeah.
going with for her in that one. Um, but
Right,
yeah,
like, there's a
it's
great scene there where she does get Bato to do the punch himself thing,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
very famous scene, it's great, and, like but during that, she's not embarrassed, she's smirking, right? That's more the
Mhm.
version we get there where she's always, like, very in control, very above it all, very, like, "I'm in charge, I'm the ultimate badass, I'm kind of inflappable at all times." Like, there's one fight where she kind of gets wrecked a little bit and is really pissed off afterwards, but
Mhm.
otherwise, like, she's kinda always this really, like, even-keeled, in charge, ultimate badass warrior. And
Yeah.
that is not quite the version we get here, where yes, she is scary. Like she's more than a match for anybody we've seen. She takes down that security robot in the first security guard in the first one. Like she's a challenge, but she takes him down. She
Right.
crushes that guy. And like the whole, she's very scary, but she's also much more of a real person. I feel like it's hard to not see like that by adding these other dimensions of comedy and embarrassment, and even like the relationships and that kind of side of her thing.
Mhm.
Uh, I feel like this is a much more real character.
Yeah, it feels like a more, I mean, even though the other versions of the major feel like real characters, but she's guarded. She's not letting you
Yeah.
in. She's very mysterious. And yeah, this feels like a more, like you're saying, like a younger, more vulnerable, energetic version of the major who's prone to embarrassment, like you're saying, but also willing to basically like go ahead anyway. Like she's willing to make the mistakes. Like when she says like, you know what, my ghost is telling me to go for the orphanage
Yeah.
thing. Like let's just do it.
Right. She goes with what she believes in. She's willing to take risks too. She's willing to sort of sabotage her team's future and viability to sort of live by her own principles and rules. She's gets the prime minister to punch himself in the face just because she thinks that he was kind of rude to her, right? Like
Right. Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
this is it. It's really fun, and I'm enjoying the writing a lot too. I think that in general, like the plots that we're seeing feel very Ghost in the Shell to me, and I mean that in the best possible way, where they are a mix of everything. You get action, you get politics, you get futurist visions of what the future of humanity could look like in the way the technology could develop. It's all these pieces being mixed together in a blender and like just chugged down. It happens so fast. These are not long episodes,
Yeah.
and we're getting so much world building about cyber brains, about ghosts, about how politics has developed in the world. Japan has become kind of the superpower. There's a lot happening here in a very short period of time.
Yeah. This all happened over the course of like 45 minutes, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, really awesome stuff. I also just got a warning that I'm like 3 minutes from running out of hard drive space, according to OBS.
Well, that sounds like a great time to wrap it up. I think that
Yeah.
I had a great time talking with you about this stuff, and I'm looking forward to following up on the next batch of episodes.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. This was a really fun conversation. I'm glad to take the time to dive deep into it because I can always waste time talking about this show
Yeah.
and the series. So
I'm
yeah,
so glad it's
so
back. I'm so
uh,
glad there's more Ghost in the Shell.
yeah, and the plan is that we're gonna basically do 2 episodes, each one of our episodes. So we'll do another one of these 2 weeks from now, and we'll discuss the end of this episode and presumably the beginning and maybe end of whatever plot starts after that.
Yeah. Sounds
All right.
good.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.